The world was in chaos. Wars, famines, and earthquakes ravaged the planet. People cried out for a leader. Then, he appeared. A charismatic figure with confidence and power. His name echoed across the globe. This was the Antichrist. He promised peace and prosperity. His words captivated millions. He spoke of unity and a world without borders. The people clung to his every word. They cheered his name, unaware of the darkness beneath. He ascended the ladder of power swiftly. He promised a new world order, and the masses believed him. They failed to see the malevolence in his eyes. They did not recognize him for what he truly was. He consolidated his power swiftly. Dissenting voices were silenced. Fear became his weapon. The Antichrist had arrived, and the tribulation began. By the Antichrist's side stood a figure as cunning as he was ruthless, the false prophet. With a silver tongue and an aura of false piety, the false prophet weaved a tapestry of lies. He proclaimed the Antichrist as the Messiah, the savior the world had been waiting for. He performed counterfeit miracles, dazzling the masses and drawing them further into the web of deception. The false prophet preached a message of unity and tolerance, but his words dripped with venom. He urged the people to embrace the Antichrist, to worship him as a god. Those who refused were branded as enemies, heretics who threatened the fragile peace. The false prophet, with his persuasive eloquence, turned neighbor against neighbor, sowing seeds of discord and mistrust. He established a new religion, a grotesque parody of true faith. At its center was the Antichrist, proclaimed as the one true God. Temples were erected in his honor, and statues of him, crafted from gold and ivory, stood in every town square. The world, once filled with the praises of the true God, now echoed with blasphemies against his holy name. The false prophet, with his insidious propaganda, eroded the very fabric of society. He twisted scriptures, reinterpreting them to serve the Antichrist's agenda. He instilled fear and doubt in the hearts of believers, leading many astray. The world, shrouded in deception, hurtled towards a precipice of unimaginable darkness. The reign of the Antichrist was a time of unimaginable suffering. The world, once vibrant with life, became a desolate wasteland. The Antichrist, driven by insatiable ambition, waged war against the nations. Cities crumbled under his relentless assault, their streets stained with the blood of innocents. Famine stalked the land, a skeletal specter claiming millions as its victims. The Antichrist, in his cruelty, hoarded resources, leaving the masses to starve. Crops withered and died, poisoned by the plagues unleashed by the false prophet. The skies, once blue and clear, turned a sickly yellow, choked with the smoke of burning cities. Persecution raged against those who refused to bow to the Antichrist. Christians, once a light in the world, were hunted down and silenced. Their churches were desecrated, their Bibles burned. The faithful were forced to worship in secret, their faith tested in the fires of tribulation. The world descended into a maelstrom of pain and despair. The Antichrist, reveling in his power, tightened his grip, crushing all opposition. Hope, it seemed, had vanished from the earth, extinguished by the encroaching darkness. Section 4. The Mark of the Beast. To solidify his control, the Antichrist, urged on by the false prophet, introduced the Mark of the Beast. This mark, a symbol of allegiance to the Antichrist, was required for all buying and selling. Without it, survival was impossible. Food, water, shelter, all were denied to those who refused to bear the mark. The mark, a grotesque symbol of the Antichrist's power, was seared onto the right hand or forehead. It represented the ultimate betrayal, a renunciation of the true God and an embrace of the Antichrist's tyranny. The false prophet, with his persuasive tongue, assured the people that the mark was a symbol of progress, of unity, of a world free from want. But the faithful knew the truth. The mark was a symbol of damnation, a one-way ticket to eternal suffering. They refused to betray their God, even if it meant facing persecution, even if it meant starvation. They clung to their faith, drawing strength from the scriptures, their spirits unbroken despite the horrors that surrounded them. The mark divided the world. On one side stood those who valued comfort and security above all else. They bore the mark willingly, embracing the Antichrist's promises of prosperity. On the other side stood the faithful, those who refused to compromise their beliefs, even in the face of death. They were the resistance, the light that refused to be extinguished. Section 5. A time of resistance. Despite the pervasive fear and oppression, a remnant of believers resisted the Antichrist's rule. They met in secret, sharing what little food they had, encouraging one another to remain steadfast in their faith. These were the tribulation saints, and their courage shone brightly in the face of overwhelming darkness. They risked their lives to spread the gospel, whispering messages of hope and salvation in the shadows. They distributed smuggled Bibles, their pages worn thin from countless readings. They refused to be silenced, their faith a beacon of light in a world consumed by darkness. The Antichrist, enraged by their defiance, unleashed his full fury upon them. He dispatched his armies, led by the false prophet, to hunt down and silence the resistance. The believers were tortured, imprisoned, and martyred for their faith. Yet their numbers did not dwindle. For every believer silenced, another seemed to rise in their place. The resistance was a thorn in the Antichrist's side, a constant reminder that his control was not absolute. They were a testament to the enduring power of faith, proof that even in the darkest of times the human spirit could not be broken. Their bravery served as an inspiration to others, a testament to the truth that evil, no matter how powerful, would never truly triumph. Section 6, The Second Coming. As the seventh year of tribulation reached its climax, the world braced for the final confrontation. The forces of the Antichrist, vast and powerful, gathered for a final assault on the remnants of resistance. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Then, a sign, a blinding light pierced the heavens, splitting the sky asunder. The earth trembled, and the very stars seemed to shake in their celestial dance. The armies of the Antichrist, their arrogance momentarily forgotten, looked skyward in terror. Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, descended from the heavens, riding a white horse, his eyes blazing with righteous fury. The faithful, their faces illuminated with awe and relief, cried out in joyous recognition. The time for judgment had arrived. The Antichrist and the false prophet, their faces contorted in terror, rallied their forces for a final desperate stand. But their armies, no match for the celestial might of heaven, were scattered like chaff before the wind. The battle was swift and decisive, a testament to the overwhelming power of the Almighty. Section 7, Cast into the Lake of Fire. The Antichrist and the false prophet, their armies vanquished, stood before the King of Kings. Their arrogance had evaporated, replaced by raw terror. They knew with chilling certainty that their time had come. Justice, long delayed, was at hand. With a voice that shook the very foundations of the earth, Jesus Christ pronounced their judgment. Their reign of terror was over, their lies exposed for all to see. They were cast down, hurled into the lake of fire, the eternal abyss reserved for the devil and his minions. Their screams echoed across the ravaged landscape, a chilling testament to the price of their rebellion. With the Antichrist and the false prophet vanquished, the reign of terror was finally over. The earth, scarred but not broken, began to heal. The faithful, their faith tested but unbroken, emerged from hiding, their faces turned towards the light. The reign of evil had ended, and a new era of peace and righteousness had begun. The forces of darkness had been vanquished, and the light of God shone brighter than ever.